hey, Launch Coders, Zoltan Vardy here, founder and CEO of The Launch Code. And today I'm going to talk to you about how to manage your business in a crisis. Now, I can already hear many of you saying, not another list of things that I'm supposed to do to save my company. I feel your pain. I understand that talking about a crisis when the sun is shining and people are on holiday may not feel right. But here's the deal. COVID-19 is back. We're on the second wave. It's spreading across the United States and many parts of Europe. So the reality is we have to be prepared to manage our companies in this very unstable and unsure environment for some time to come. Now, I know that many companies have already felt the pain of COVID-19. Back in March, when it first came on the scene, companies in the travel and tourism industry, for instance, were impacted heavily. Well, the fact is, when people come back from holidays and get back into the swing of things in September and start to really realize that this thing is here to stay for a while, I'm afraid that there'll be other companies that'll be facing similar negative impact from this entire situation. So I think if you are starting a business or managing a company, it's up to you to understand how to prepare your business for this tough year ahead. Now, I know from personal experience, it's easy to feel overwhelmed during a crisis, no matter what the source. And by the way, the source of your crisis for your business might not even have anything to do with coronavirus. It could be that you just lost your biggest customer to a competitor, or your business partner just left to pursue other opportunities, or maybe you just have a product glitch that is keeping you from selling your business or selling your company. Whatever the source of your current crisis, the fact is the single most important obstacle that you have to overcome is one that is deep inside all of us, and that is the human tendency to hope that things get better. Ladies and gentlemen, when you're building a business, hope is not a strategy. If you want to manage in a crisis, rule number one is to take decisive action. Get a clear picture of your financial situation, identify if your offering is still relevant, and if not, make adjustments. And finally, take a few quick wins to make sure that you gain momentum and that you can continue to build the business even under difficult circumstances. Now, the last time that the world was in such an economic negative crisis was back in 2008, 2009. I happened to have been the CEO for one of the largest TV broadcasting groups in Central and Eastern Europe. And we were hit hard. I mean, to give you an idea, we lost about 20% of our revenues, about 25 million euros at the time, overnight. So after we got over the shock of this situation, my team and I sat down together and spent weeks working through evaluation of the situation, creating a clear action plan, and taking decisive action that ultimately enabled the company to not only survive and to weather the storm, but to rebound even stronger when the market bounced back. So this was one of the greatest professional and personal challenges of my life, but I learned really firsthand what it takes to steer a company in crisis. I want to share some of the lessons I learned from that experience with you today to help you in your business survive and thrive in these difficult circumstances. I've actually organized 6 key lessons or steps into planning and execution, the same way that I've organized the structure of the Launch Code, my personal or my self-developed business development framework. Now, let's take a look at these lessons one by one. Step 1, get a clear picture of your company's financial health. How much money do you have in the bank? How much cash are you spending on need to have stuff versus nice to have stuff? Do you have any unpaid bills, or do you have any receivables, money that you're waiting to come in? How strong is your client pipeline? What does that look like in the next 6 to 12 months? Don't fool yourself by being too optimistic. Be realistic instead. Get a really clear picture of your financial health, and you're better off, even if it's bad, knowing about it now and dealing with it rather than pushing it off and bearing it in the future. Second step, rethink or reinforce your offering. The fundamental driver of any business, your value proposition, shouldn't change because you're operating in a crisis. You might need to adjust your price or offer some additional value to keep customers, but if you're offering a product or service that continues to have benefit, it will be bought by customers.
Now, if you think what you're selling is not relevant under any of the current conditions, then you need to identify a reasonable alternative that is more relevant in a crisis-focused environment. For example, I happen to own and operate a number of properties that I normally rent out for short-term stays. Understandably, the demand for this type of rental has dropped under the current conditions, but I've decided to offer 2-week stay packages targeting people who don't want to quarantine with their families at home. Now, this is a good example where you have to make a shift in your value proposition, but core remains the same. I would encourage you not to reposition yourself into something that is completely alien to your core business. If you're a B2B marketing platform, don't suddenly become an educational tool provider. It simply won't work. You won't be credible to your new target customers. Plus, when the market eventually rebounds, you'll have to rebuild your original market position from scratch. Now, if you're lucky to be one of the few companies whose business is booming currently, then simply reinforce your communication. Make sure people know you are open for business. Step 3, set clear and achievable targets. Create a set of goals and action plans that set out what you want to achieve in the next 4 weeks, 4 months, maybe a year. Use these goals to keep you on track and to make sure you're focused on the right things, which you need to keep in mind that this is a difficult situation. So you don't want to lose sight of why you've launched your business in the first place. But no matter how difficult the crisis-focused environment seems, one day this too will pass, and it's really important that you maintain your passion and your focus by achieving clear, recognizable goals. Number 4, start executing your quick wins. Start implementing your action plan by focusing on some of those things that have the clearest, most obvious benefit in the shortest possible time. In a crisis, cash is king. Make sure you collect all of your receivables, cut your nice-to-have costs, renegotiate recurring expenses, make sure your customers are all paying up. On the other side, focus your energy on generating some new sales. Maybe there's a new product you can get onto the market. You know, revenues is always the cheapest form of cash, so you don't want to lose sight of that. Some of your best customers might be interested in speeding up negotiations and getting a long-term deal done. The only thing I would caution you to do is to make sure you don't agree on unreasonable terms and conditions for a short-term gain. So stand up for the value your product or service offers, and don't sell yourself short because it happens to be a difficult situation, because that may have an impact on the long-term value of your company. Number 5, evaluate and adjust your actions as needed. Once you've started executing your plan, take some time to review the results of your first actions. You'll be surprised that some of the things you thought would be really difficult are going to happen quickly, and other targets you set will now seem almost impossible. So clear out as many obstacles as you can and make sure that you focus on moving things forward. One of the methods I've used over the course of my career that I find quite useful is something I call the one more principle. When I'm not making as much progress as I should, I put aside the big picture and basically I narrow my focus on simply doing one more thing that will get me closer to reaching my goal. The next step is usually something really simple, like sending an email or making a phone call, but I continue to focus on that one thing and the next one thing. And after a while, I start picking up momentum and I end up right back on track. Point number 6, plan for your future. If you continue to recode your business, you will inevitably hit difficult patches. Building a business is hard enough, but doing it in a crisis environment is really, really difficult. Be sure you remind yourself of the progress you've made. Celebrate your small successes. Send out a congratulatory email to a salesperson who brought in a great deal, or organize a little get-together with your team to make sure they understand that you appreciate their work. Make sure you maintain that strong focus on the pillars of your business, your team, your core value proposition, because you don't want to be in a position where you're damaging your business in the long term. Another thought is maybe you have some projects you've been putting aside or putting on the shelf for a while and you just didn't have time to deal with it. Now might be a good time to pick those out and to get those in place so that you're well prepared for a rebound into the market. So in summary, it's really important that you take control of your business and gather momentum and don't just hope that things will get better, okay? the value of feeling like you're in control of your business and your own future is amazing. It just gives you strength to push through when times are tough. If you follow these 6 crisis management principles I've shared with you today, I guarantee you that you will be ready to tackle these problems and prepare your company for when the market rebalances. And eventually, your business will once again blast off.